I'm more concerned with children and elderly without medical coverage and food. Community college people, come on. Military pays still. So this is in response to my video where I'm talking about the significant negative impacts for anybody who's not wealthy and wants to go to college or law school or medical school that are being rolled out because of Trump's terrible tax law that just got voted through by the Republicans. That big, nasty, bloated bill is now law, and it has significantly changed the way people can access student loans, the amount of student loans that you can get, and it is functionally going to make it impossible for people who are not extremely wealthy to go to graduate school, law school, or medical school. And it's going to make it much more difficult for folks all over this country to get an undergraduate degree as well. It changes the way Pell Grants work. It puts new caps on how much you can take out in student loans and combines that cap for undergraduate and graduate together. So there is a yearly cap on how much you can take out, and then there is a lifetime total cap. It's creating a two-tiered society where only the wealthy will be able to access higher education, where they can ensure that only the elites and folks who ascribe to their ideology are becoming lawyers and judges, are getting PhDs and crafting policy and running academia in this country. As if they weren't fucking our healthcare system hard enough by gutting Medicaid so that clinics and hospitals all over this country will be closing. Hospitals are already closing, and tens of millions of people will lose their healthcare coverage. As if we didn't already have a problem in this country with folks not wanting to go into medicine because it's such a fucking hellscape, because our for-profit healthcare system is incredibly broken. And being a doctor, nurse practitioner, a physician's assistant is a soul-sucking job now. But then, just make it way, way harder for anybody to get into any of those advanced degree programs for healthcare. And hey, commenter, I hear you. I totally hear you. I also am very, very concerned about children and the elderly and disabled folks going without medical coverage. I'm concerned about children going hungry in this country as a direct result of what the Republicans are doing. But let's be real clear here. The Republicans and Donald Trump are wrecking everything in this country. There is not a single American who will not be negatively impacted by something this regime is doing, except for a couple hundred billionaires at the very top, who are pocketing our taxpayer dollars, are enjoying the revocation and weakening of policies that protect workers and the planet, are creating pathways to make it much more easy for corporations to fuck all of us, to make it easier for them to exploit us for our wages, our life hours, and our dollars. But let's look at your last 2 points in particular, because they are pathways with which I am incredibly familiar when it comes to getting an education. My 3 eldest children have all been through or are currently in community college. My 14-year-old will be starting in the fall. I'm a big advocate of community college. It is making it possible for my children to afford 4-year degrees, to get their associate's degree first at the community college. But you may not be aware that this new law enacted by the Republicans and Trump, it's actually going to make it much harder for students to go to community college. And that's because they now have a ranking system that determines how much financial aid students can get at various institutions, and depending on what kind of courses they take. The more profitable those courses turn out to be based on their formula, the more income potential someone has based on the classes they take and the degree that they are pursuing, the more financial aid they can get. Well, the amount of income folks can earn from taking community college classes and getting an associate's degree is lower. So it's going to make it harder for kids to be able to get student loans to go to community college. It's going to limit how many kids can access that pathway in the first place. Also, good to remember, they are restricting Pell Grants. So if you are getting some other kind of scholarship, then you're not going to be able to get a Pell Grant. We can talk about all of the other ways that this regime is absolutely screwing over community colleges around the country. I don't have time for it in this video, but maybe I should dedicate a whole video to that. Let's look at your second question. The military still pays for folks to get an education. The GI Bill is still in effect. I'm going to say a couple of words about this. My father was in the United States Air Force for 30 years. The military paid for his medical school. That's how he was able to afford to go to medical school and become a physician. Understanding that that is my background, that is what has informed my opinion here. I don't think anybody should have to sell their bodies and their years to the United States military to be able to afford a college education. I don't think you should have to sign up to fight in foreign conflicts for the military-industrial complex, potentially have your body brutalized, potentially become disabled, develop PTSD so that you can go to college. The military preys on people from socioeconomically disadvantaged families. We prey on poor people in this country so that we can use them for soldiers. We dangle things in front of them like the GI Bill, when we could have a country where if we just tax the fucking rich, everybody could have an affordable college education. So in Trump's America, you have got to fucking be kidding me. I would not want either of my two sons to be in the military right now for multiple reasons. I say sons because they are the only ones who are still required to sign up for selective service. Trump has, in 6 months, threatened to take us to war with Canada, with Mexico, with Greenland. He is using our service members as pawns in his political theater, wasting hundreds of millions of our taxpayer dollars to put our service members out on missions where they are in direct opposition to their neighbors, to United States citizens. He is using them in order to further his authoritarian agenda. We are hearing how incredibly demoralized our service members are who have been forced to fulfill those missions. Idea that in 2025, college has now become so unaffordable, thanks 100% to the Republicans and Donald Trump, that folks would have to consider giving their lives, their bodies, their souls to enlisting in the U.S. military under Donald Trump as the commander-in-chief, an authoritarian. Is this what we want for America? Also, let's be real. Why would anybody want to go into the military now when they are slashing programs for veterans? They are firing people from the VA. The amount of obscene disrespect that our veterans are being shown right now. From the party that used to be like, we're pro-Constitution, support our troops. That's the party that voted for a man who called our service members, our veterans, suckers and losers. We previously, until this year, had a pathway for veterans, especially disabled veterans, to be given good jobs with dignity and a pension. They did important work for the federal government. Elon Musk and Donald Trump fired most of those people at the beginning of the year. A third of our federal workforce is veterans, and about 50% of those are disabled veterans. And Elon Musk and Trump just said, fuck all of y'all. Thanks for your service. Get the fuck out. Why would anybody want to join the military right now in the United States of America? And I'll leave it here with there is no oppression Olympics under Trump. We are all being uniquely harmed. Most of us in a multiplicity of ways. We are being severely harmed. Just because someone is in a position where they are not being actively starved to death by this regime, by the Republicans, that doesn't mean that there is not significant and lasting harm that is being enacted upon them by Trump, by the Republicans, who are a fascist party. We don't need to play this purity nonsense where we pick what we think the one most extreme thing Trump is doing, and then we say everything else isn't that bad. It's all bad. It's all really, really fucking bad. It's all devastating for this country, for our children, for the future of this nation. They are wrecking everything that we care about, and they are making sure they are inflicting lasting damage that will continue to tank this country for generations unless we stop it.